to another episode of Meals with MPC, the show for people who have to cook but don't really like to cook. I'm your host, MPC. Today we're going to be preparing Pico de Gallo. Pico de Gallo is used to complement tacos, burritos, eggs, pretty much anything you'd like to use it with. The ingredients that we need for this are tomatoes, onions, garlic, jalapeno pepper, cilantro, lime, and salt. We also need a bowl to put it into. I like to use one that has a lid because when I'm all done, I'm gonna put the lid on, shake it up, and then put it in the refrigerator for later. Let it marinate in its own juices. Other utensils that we'll need include a cutting board, paring knife, and I like to use a chef's knife as well for larger cuts. With that having been said, let's get to it. I realized that I hadn't washed the tomatoes, so I quickly rinsed them off and let's get started. I'm gonna take out the top of the tomato by cutting around the top here. Oh, didn't do a very good job there. Cut a little bit deeper. There we go. Put that into my waste. Now I like to cut it into fourths myself. I'm using the paring knife in case that wasn't obvious. So once I've cut the tomato into fourths, I want to remove the seeds and the white part on the inside. In order to do that, I like to place my knife parallel to the cutting board and work my way along the inside, remove it like that, and that goes into the waste. That's going to go to the side. I'll do the next one. Oh, this one's coming way easier. Oh, got a lot of seeds in this one. I don't really like the seeds in my pico, so I'm trying to have as few of them in there as possible. Other people it may not bother, and that's fine. All right, once you have your tomato cut, dice it. And the way I do that is to go along the length of the tomato in small strips. They're about this big. Looks like I got about 4 on this one. Cut it to the size that you like. Some people like it really fine, almost pureed. Some people like bigger chunks. I like small chunks. About that size. Keep in mind that you're cutting from the inside towards the outside, just like with the bell peppers from the salad episode. It's easier to cut the skin from the inside than the outside. When your tomatoes all cut up, put it into the bowl. On to the next one. That's tomato number 2. Tomato number 3. When I put the knife in, I'm actually moving the tomato and kind of keeping the knife steady. I'm not really moving the knife that much. I'm making the tomato do all the work. All right, that's 4 tomatoes down. I'm gonna rinse this off, and the next thing we'll start with is the onion. Next, we peel the onion. I've been peeling onions for years, and I still don't do it right, so I've heard so many different ways that I'm supposed to do it. What I like to do is to go from the North Pole to the South Pole, or I guess maybe that's the North Pole and that's the South Pole, and put a little cut into it so that I can start taking off some of the flaky, papery peel. I'm also going to just go ahead and cut the root end of it. Don't know if you can see that very well, and that makes it a little bit easier to cut. All right, I think I've gotten most of the papery parts off. You know what? I was gonna cut it one way that I saw on TV, and I cut it the wrong way, so we'll just keep going with this way. So what I'm trying to do is not exactly wafer thin cuts. I want to be consistent, but you can see that that was not consistent. How thick is that? About that thick. So you get towards this part, try not to cut your fingers. We want all of our viewers to keep all of their digits. And if you catch me pausing, my eyes are starting to water a little bit, so yeah, I get that going for me. I'm gonna cut it in half. And usually I'll try and stack one side on top of the other, but I'm not gonna try to do that today. What I'm gonna try and do is make small pieces of onion now, dicing it this way. I'm sure there's people out there who are watching going, oh, you're cutting it all wrong. Yeah, you're probably right. I won't argue with you. Go ahead and leave a comment and tell me I'm doing it wrong. See this? That's too big. But what I'm looking for is, yeah, pieces about that big. I scoop it into a pile here. I'm gonna do this. Is this the best way to do it? I doubt it. The point is, don't feel bad if you're doing it wrong. Just keep going with the recipe as much as you can, as best as you can, because you're trying to feed people. All right, so I put about half of the onion in right now. I'm gonna shake this around a little bit and see. I want mostly tomato, not mostly onion, so let's take a look. Yeah, I can add more onion into that. It was just all sitting on top there. My eyes are watering. I'm having a hard time with it. Normally I just shake it at the end, but this is because I want to check and see how it's coming along. Maybe a little more oniony than I prefer, but that's all right. Okay, I'm gonna rinse off my bowl. Let's open this up. Ooh, these might be a little old. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna throw this one out and get a different one because it's all moldy and rotten. So I found about 3 cloves that I could have used from the previous garlic, but since I have other garlic, I'm gonna go ahead and use that. If I was running out of garlic, I would have used those other 3, but since I'm not running out, I'm going to use some better ones, hopefully. Well, that's a gross one. That's gonna go. That one looks pretty good. That one looks good. This one looks like it has a black spot on it. Be too much. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cloves of moderately sized garlic. Okay, so I used soap and water. It didn't just rinse off the board. It was kind of gross, that mold stuff. I don't know what it was. I don't want to get people sick. I washed my hands twice now. Once when I first threw away the bad garlic, and now just again when I cleaned off this board. So the next step is to mince the garlic. To peel the garlic, I like to cut off the bottoms, and then I can usually grab a hold of the skin and pull it up. If you see parts that are gross to you, just go ahead and cut them off. So I press down on them to break it up a little bit. Chop off the bottom, peel it. Came off pretty well. Next one. So that one had a little bit of stuff on the top of it that I cut off, as well as cutting off the bottom of it. Item I forgot, these Jedis. It's a chopper. If you don't have a chopper, you can use your knife to cut everything up finely, but I don't want to do that. Put the garlic into the chopper. I'm looking for a spatula. I always got a little spatula. We use that for getting out the rest of the garlic paste. So, put it together, and this one has a bottom on it. If you don't have a bottom, you can put it directly onto the cutting board, and then scrape from the cutting board, and chop it up. Take a look. That's looking pretty good. You can go ahead and scrape this into our bowl with the tomatoes and the onions. You're never gonna get all of the garlic, and that's okay. I do recommend when you're done cleaning out your chopper though, to start soaking it so that the garlic doesn't crust and dry on the inside. All right, I'm gonna rinse my cutting board again and my paring knife. Now we come to the addition of the jalapeno pepper. You may have noticed that I have a glove here. Using a glove will help keep the oils from the jalapeno off of your hand. So I'm gonna put the whole jalapeno in. See how it goes. Oh, it's also juicy right there. I'm gonna cut the top off. I'm gonna cut it down the middle, long ways. Ooh, all those seeds are the spicy bits. You know what? I'm gonna do it the same way I did the tomatoes. Oh, maybe I should have worn 2 gloves. This one's mostly seeds, so I'm gonna try to scrape that off first before trying to cut out the white part. Well, that's not good. I didn't see that on the pepper before, so I'll cut below it and above it and get rid of that. I'm gonna just go lengthwise from the inside to the outside, the skin side. I'm getting about 3 cuts on this, which is okay. Add your jalapeno. Cilantro's next. One thing I neglected to mention was taking off the glove. This part all has jalapeno juice on it. I don't want to put that on my fingers and then touch my face or anything like that. So I'm going to take off my glove, getting a thumb on the inside of the cuff, putting it over my trash, and now that part can just all go in there. Cilantro. This is our cilantro saver. It keeps it upright, keeps it from getting moldy. One of the mistakes I've made before is to purchase cilantro, put it into a plastic bag like this. The moisture stays inside that plastic bag, and I go to pull it out a few days later, and all the leaves are black and rotting and whatever else. So we want to avoid that. Okay, this is now rinsed off. One of the techniques people use is just to go ahead and cut everything. That leaves some of the stems in there. Last time I did this, I actually started pulling off the leaves from the stems and just used the leaves instead of the stems, and I kind of liked it better. So I'm gonna try to do that today and see how that works out. So also it helps me find if there's any yucky leaves, like this one's got brown spots on it that can go. And if you get stems in there, that's fine too. It's not the end of the world. If you are just gonna go ahead and start chopping it, I'd only go chop down to about this much. I wouldn't do this part of it, which is all stems. I would try to stick with the leaves part. Who knows how long my patience is gonna last with this. I might just go start chopping it all up. Also, if you're plucking off leaves and just like the whole top part of the stem comes away, that's fine. Also, when purchasing cilantro, be sure to get cilantro and not parsley. I'm not saying that I've ever done that before. I'm also not gonna say that I've forgotten to put cilantro in my Pico de Gallo before and then served it up and had my wife go, something's not right with this. It doesn't quite taste right. Nope, not gonna admit that that happened. But it did. So I'm using my chef's knife. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this up a few times in each way. The idea is to break up the leaves and just try to make it smaller. Once you've got your cilantro leaves cut up, go ahead and add that to your pico. Next thing we add is a lime. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the lime under my palm a little bit, putting some pressure on it on the counter to try to soften it up a little. Cut it in half. It's okay to use the cilantro knife. It's all going in the same place. I'm gonna use my lemon squeezer, and I like to put it in backwards. That way, all the juice is coming out of here as it gets squeezed. We'll do the whole lime as well. I'm not gonna add the salt to the Pico de Gallo yet, so I'm gonna add the salt right before I'm ready to use it. With all the other ingredients now into the bowl, I'm gonna put the lid on, seal it tightly, hold it tightly with my thumbs, and mix it up. Well, a little bit more. Ooh, that smells delicious. Voila, Pico de Gallo. Add a little salt, then serve it up on your tacos, your burritos, breakfast eggs, whatever you want. Nachos, yeah. So until next time, this has been Meals with MPC. I'm your host, MPC. This is the show for people who have to cook, but don't really like to cook. Remember, mistakes are okay. That's how we learn. Please join us next time.